What would happen if you could stop worrying so much about what your team was doing all day and instead focus in on what you're supposed to be doing to move your business forward? Sounds like a dream, but right now you're living the nightmare of having to overcoach, over-handhold, and over-check in on your team's work. Let's put an end to that and instead roll out super clear 5-hour work plans, drum beats, and more of my signature tools that drive accountability and self-sufficiency deep into your team. All you have to do is join a Leadership Lab program, and I'll help you turn your team troubles into triumphs. You'll be learning and growing alongside some peers that will become valuable business friends. So why not go beyond this podcast and join us? It could be the smartest thing you do this year. Book a call with me and see what program would best fit you over at the website, stackingyourteam.com/programs. Hello, leader. Do you have highly billable people on your team? Do you ever wonder about how best to lead them and then acknowledge their contributions while also teaching them about the importance of customer and client lifetime value? Well, I've got just what you need. My go-to sales expert is joining me on the podcast today. She's guiding us to make better decisions regarding bonuses, commission sales, and has ideas on how you can structure these compensation plans into your small business. Welcome to the Stacking Your Team podcast. Thanks for tuning in and following your curiosity to learn and honor your personal conviction to be the best leader you can be. On this podcast, you won't hear a bunch of theories presented by academics who haven't been in a workplace in years or ever, and you'll not hear from executives who are flush with capital, people, and pool tables in their cafeteria telling you how to build team culture. Nope. Why? Because you are a small business owner and you've built something great out of nothing. And through it all, you've learned that you need a team, but not just any team. I'm your host, Shelli Warren. I've led winning teams in retail, innovative technical teams at a Fortune 50 corporation for decades, not-for-profit boards, and in online business, and helped many remote teams win at work. And I can tell you that no one escapes team troubles, including me. These days, I'm the CEO of Stacking Your Team, where I teach and develop tools for small business owners so they can attract, retain, and develop their teams so the founder can step out of her day-to-day operation. I'm so happy you're here because we all know that the people side of running your business is often the most difficult, and the team that got you here may not be the team that gets you there. So come on, let's jump in to today's episode. I'm excited to add a little something different to the podcast. If you've been a podcast fan, you know that I only feature clients as guests. I get pitched constantly, and I decline those people who have no connection to me or you at all, but want to use my podcast to leverage their own brand. Yet, it's important to me to amplify women's voices, so I'm trying something different. I'm going to be inviting women who podcast and who also have a team to join me here on the show to share their brilliance with us when it's obvious that their mastery fits beautifully with what you need. I'll still be featuring clients for sure. I love highlighting them and helping to make more people aware of who they are and how they're impacting their clients and customers. So keep an eye out for more clients to come and join me here on the Stacking Your Team podcast. So without further ado, today you're meeting the first person I've invited with this new guest concept. She's a former client and longtime connection who I consider a dear friend. We've been known to have long Voxer conversations that energize us both, and we're also long overdue for a real-life meetup. Let me tell you a bit about her. She's Nikki Rausch. She's also your sales maven. She's renowned for her mastery of sales, teaching people how to sell, and breaking down the key skills of knowing what to say and when to say it to help people make better buying decisions. She has over 25 years of experience selling to such prestigious organizations as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Hewlett-Packard, and NASA. She's written 3 books and hosts a popular podcast, you guessed it, Your Sales Maven, that I highly recommend you subscribe to. She's an incredible sales trainer. Some of my clients have hired her to help teach their team members how to sell authentically. And she hosts a great membership site where she supports people like you, those small business owners who have urgent sales questions and who are looking for stellar training. So come on, let's talk with Nikki, and be sure to grab your gift from her at the end. Welcome back to the Stacking Your Team podcast, Nikki.
I'm so excited to be back. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to see you. I miss your face.
I miss you too.
Well, you're always top of mind for me when it comes to thinking about sales expertise, commission expertise, bonus expertise, and how to lead our highly billable team members. You are the one and only. There's no one else I want to talk to. I want to get your perspective. So what are you seeing most recently in the world of small business? What are those business owners? What have they been up against in terms of those things?
I think the overarching thing that has come up a lot lately is clients are leaving and people aren't really sure why. And when I start to dig in and it's like, well, what's going on with the interaction between them and the team member? There's a disconnect. I feel like the owner doesn't really know what's going on. And they haven't also ever spent, usually it's because they haven't really invested in teaching their team members some selling skills, teaching them how to recognize buying signals, teaching the team member how to plant seeds to offer additional ways to work with them. And they think, so, it's easy to get in that like tunnel vision of like, oh, my job, my role is to do this. But anybody who's client facing, they have the opportunity to keep that client, frankly, like keep them happy and keep them coming back, but also earn additional business. And the thing that I've been talking about, I feel like a lot because I get excited about it, is how do you increase the lifetime value of your clients? Mm-hmm. And if you have team members that are interfacing with your clients, they should have some awareness and frankly have some maybe KPIs or maybe even having some bonuses or some kind of a commission attached to helping you increase the lifetime value of that client. Because it's always, it's the most profitable to earn repeat business than it is to go out and find a brand new client. And when you think of like your client acquisition cost, it's less expensive to just keep working with the existing client and giving them additional ways to work with you. You've already built the know, like, and trust. They're already used to paying you money. Give them additional ways to do that.
Yeah. And I love the idea of having team members who are building a reputation for their ability to deliver services. So when she opened up the business, it was her, right? She was that solopreneur. The demand has grown. The client roster has grown. She literally can't clone herself. She needs more team members. So it's how do we set those service providers up for success so that they're earning a reputation that is so complementary to the brand. And at the same time, they're rewarded for it. So, because as you say, that lifetime value, not only for the business, but for those service providers to know, hey, Mrs. Clark has been with me for 4 years now. And she has a standing appointment with me every month for 4 years. I mean, what a feather in your cap. I would love to go around bragging about that. And I think more team members should be encouraged to do that as well. So how do we teach our team members what lifetime value is? Like, how do we pull back the curtains and expose that to them?
Yeah. So some of it is actually like breaking it down and showing them, like, this particular client, we bring a client on a 6-month retainer and we convert them into the next 12 months. And then 12 months after that, this is lifetime value of this client. Or here's our average lifetime value of sharing those types of numbers. Here's our average lifetime value. We want to increase, let's say it's $10,000 and we want to increase our lifetime value of a client to 12 or 15 or $20,000. Now they need ways to do that. And you have to provide them like, here's how you can increase lifetime value of the client. So this client who's on a $10,000 retainer package, have we ever talked to them about XYZ service? What else could they benefit from that we offer? When's the last time that we even mentioned or broached this other service that we have? Because I think sometimes people think, oh, well, once somebody's a client, they know all the ways they can work with me. No, they don't. And even if they did know, you have to tell them again. They forgot. They're busy. They've heard they've been bombarded with other things. And they're thinking about other things. So how can you put it in front of them? And then, when it comes down to sales, like this is so my thing is you have to track what you want, the behavior that you want your people to take. So if you want them to have some kind of a sales component or to increase lifetime value of the client, then that should be regularly put in front of them and put in front of the whole team. So everybody knows where everybody's tracking, because this starts to create a little bit of that internal competition, and not in a bad way, but actually in a really you could make it in a bad way, but let's make it a positive, exciting, fun thing to do and drive the behaviors. And you've got to reward the behaviors that you want.
Yeah, I like that idea too. I like a little healthy competition, and I like having tools provided to those team members to help them host those kind of conversations. And sometimes as business owners, I know sometimes I have this conversation with my clients where they literally think everyone on their team knows the different tiers of services that they offer. But in reality, that's unreasonable to think that every person on your team is going to know the intricate details of each one of those tiers of services that you provide, because the business has morphed over the years, and you probably narrowed down the niche that you have now versus the niche that you started with. And the team members have all changed. So I know team members love to be able to have, whether it's a one-pager or some sort of booklet or some sort of pamphlet, they can literally give to a client to facilitate that, because it really is a sales conversation. But how do we make it not feel like a sales conversation? How do we make it feel like more like, oh my gosh, she's really looking out for me. Like she's noticed that my law firm has changed over the last year. She's seeing what we now need in order to stay viable. And now she's going to offer those additional services to me in a really nice way that's packaged. The outline is there for them. And I think it really helps that service provider look even more professional than what they already are.
Yes, because that person feels exactly like you said, like, oh, this person is looking out for my business. This person is taking care of me. This person is presenting me with options of what's possible. And, I know you brought me in a while back to do a training for your organization or for your coaching clients. One of them ended up hiring me to come in and teach her team some of the things that I learned on and, or taught to your group, which was how to create curiosity, how to plant seeds, and actually give them some language. And not that they have to read it like a script so they sound like a robot, but just show them the structure of how do you have that conversation in a way that does actually feel really good to the client and to the person who's having it. So it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm in sales mode now, I got to be pushing and convincing. It's like, oh no, there's actually just some simple questions that you can ask. And then based on their answer to the question, what do you say next? And that becomes this easy progression. But don't ever assume that your team members know how to do that. People get trained to do it. And you've learned it. Maybe you've learned it over the years because you've had to grow your business, and hopefully you've invested time and energy into yourself to learn these skills. But don't ever assume that your team members have learned them. It's your job to train them. And your clients will love you for it.
It's so true. Those are those value add skills that we talk about all the time in the leadership lab. I call that skill stacking. I walk them through a framework of how everyone can stack their skills over their career with you. But having those value add skills really help develop a career for those individuals that you have on your team, and where they really feel that they're leaving their stamp on the business And they're built their own reputation that is such a great extension of your brand's reputation as well. So I love that whole idea of let's just set them up for success because they have the relationship with that client. They really have built it over time. So let's give them the tools they need in order to really leverage that lifetime value for sure. So when we talk about team members, I like to call them like our highly billable team members. I feel like highly billable team members are a niche within themselves on your team. Personally, I think highly billable people on your team require more support, more acknowledgement, more accolades because they're so valuable to the business. And it's not that they're golden child, we treat them like golden children and they all, you wear your white kid gloves when you're around them and they pretty much walk on water and they're not held accountable to the same thing the rest of the teams are. And there's this incredible vibe of favoritism for them. I'm not talking about that at all. What I am talking about is having them understand how valuable they are to the business and building a relationship with them that acknowledges exactly what they're bringing to the business. And I love developing bonus plans and commission plans with people because I think there's a way to reduce your team turnover, especially for your highly billable people who often can tell themselves a story that says, well, I'm not really happy here, but I could probably get a new job next week somewhere else. All I need to do is tell them how much I brought into this business and someone else will hire me to bring that kind of money in the next business. So let's not risk that. Let's pour into these individuals, have them feel incredibly seen and heard through a bonus plan that doesn't break your bank, but where it does acknowledge the impact they're having in the business. So what are you seeing out there within your clients as to how they're structuring their bonuses?
Well, one of the questions that I get asked, and you can tell me if I'm answering a question, but one of the questions I often get asked is people are like, I have no idea how to even start to think about bonusing. And I'll tell you the place that I usually recommend for my clients to start is I go, well, what is your client acquisition price? Like, how much does it cost you to acquire a new client? And then, a lot of times people don't know the answer to that. So then my follow-up question is, what would you be willing to pay to bring on a new client? So let's say it's a $10,000 a year client. How much would you be willing to pay to get that client on board? So let's just say I'm willing to pay $1,000, right, for a $10,000 client. Maybe you're willing to pay more. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's 5. I don't know. But you know the number in your business. But let's say it's $1,000. So you're saying, like, right off the bat, if they could get that client in the door, that you should be willing to give them the $1,000 in some way.
Yeah.
And you can structure it however you want. And then when they repeat and they buy another $10,000 a year package, instead of you having to go find the new client, you still would give them a percentage of it. Maybe it's not the full $1,000 because, now they're an existing client. It's easier for them to earn it, whatever. You can justify it however you want, but you still want to give them something because now they don't want to go and leave and go somewhere else because they have to start with brand new clients and they have to go find brand new clients for any new business. But now if they're like, well, I know 50% of my clients are going to renew and I'm going to get this bonus as a result. And you should be happy, honestly, to pay big bonus and big commission checks because it is impacting your bottom line. So I'm not saying do something that's going to hurt your cash flow or do something that's going to hurt your bottom line as far as expenses go. But if you're not taking into account what would you be willing to pay to acquire that client, like that's a first place to start.
And it's such a wonderful way to also share your profits in the business.
Yeah.
Is to create some sort of a bonus or commission plan. So how do you think differently between bonus, or do you think differently between bonuses and commission?
I do think differently, I guess, about a bonus versus a commission. I think a bonus isn't always tied necessarily to the actions that you want people to take, although I think it should be tied to the actions that you want them to take. And then the bonus is based on, they've met all their KPIs or they've, however you've decided to do this. Whereas commission is usually kind of a straight, like, okay, this amount of money came into the business, here's the commission, and they get it paid immediately. You want to think about what motivates your person more, a bonus or a commission. Because what can sometimes happen with commission is it just becomes part of the paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're not really actually acknowledging it or noticing it.
Mm.
Right? Of like, oh, well, I'm getting this, $50 commission on my paycheck every time. But if that $50 went away, would they really notice it? Well, if it's $50 and however many times they're being paid, let's just say for math's sake, they're being paid twice a month, like twice, like two paychecks, $50. So it's $100 a month. That's a $1,200 bonus. Somebody would notice that.
That versus the $50 they're free.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, when I think about commission, the watch out, like the kind of like the red flags that go off for me, are sometimes team members can get caught up in the quantity of people that they're selling to, like the versus the quality, right? So it's kind of like a pencil whip attitude. It's that whole idea like, well, I brought in 20 new clients this quarter, but did they stay? Were they successful? Did they bring any referrals with them? Were we able to upsell to them? Did they renew? Right? I think those additional activities require, like, in my mind, that's what warrants the bonuses. Whereas a commission is strictly based on how many individuals did we get in here?
Yeah, I would totally agree there.
And then it comes down to the whole team to deliver and keep them in, because a lot of people start stuff, but they don't finish it. And a business can't handle that. No, a small business can't handle that kind of turnover where people are starting and stopping, starting and stopping.
Right. So I do love that concept of where you're thinking about like, what behaviors do we want to drive? And then what do we reward? Because what you might do is you might actually have a smaller commission or bonus when the client comes in the first time, but it's the renewal where they get the bigger chunk of money, right? Because now your overhead cost is less because you've kind of done that up front of onboarding somebody. So yeah, you can look at it and structure it any way you want, but what you really want to think about is what is the behavior that you want your client to take? What's the behavior you want your high paying individual or your, what did you call it?
Highly billable team members.
Highly billable. Thank you. Your highly billable team members. What are the behaviors that you want them to take? And again, I do think that it's super important. I'm gonna say this again because it will make a difference in how people respond. Is not only do you pay for the behaviors that you want, you track them and you put them in front of people often.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned this from, managing sales teams in my career and managing promotions and contests and things like that, that the more often I would show results and where people were tracking, the bigger the traction we'd get. As a matter of fact, I just finished I have a group coaching program. It's called the Sales Maven Society. And every year we do member appreciation for the whole month. Now, when I started it, I was just like giving out prizes and, acknowledging people and trying to make it fun for them. But then I thought, well, I'm going to apply my sales brain to it. And I started giving points to drive behavior, the things I wanted my group members to actually do because it would make an impact for them as far as the results that they got. It would build community. We just finished it at the end of this last month. And and it's my second year of giving points. I cannot tell you the engagement that happened as a result of people getting points. And not only do they get points, but I was putting the points in front of them at least twice a week. They would see where they were tracking in relation to everybody else. So people were trying to like beat the person ahead of them. So it's not always that you're trying to be the number one spot. Sometimes you're just trying to be, I don't want to be number 7 on the team. I want to be number 6, right? And so it drives everybody's behavior up, but you've got to put it in front of them all the time.
And then what was the reward for the points?
Yeah, so there was a couple things that happened. If you got points in 4 categories, you got entered into a raffle. If you got over 100 points, regardless of how you earned them, there was a different raffle for some different prizes. And then at the end, I actually gave every single person a gift certificate. I'm putting quotes around that for the podcast listeners, a gift certificate worth the value of their points.
Yeah.
And they could then use those gift certificates to redeem services with me.
Yeah.
Like I have a coaching, like a private coaching program, and she was able to apply $600 towards that coaching program, which was a huge savings for her.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I love all these ideas.
And for me, it's great because guess why? It's increasing the lifetime value of my client.
I love the whole notion of educating those highly billable people as to where are they adding value into the business and how can they continue to keep doing that in such a way that feels great for them. It's not a hardship for them. It actually helps them with their own form of identity within the team. And then I love having them become your lead trainers. I love having them over time. What I've seen anyways with highly billable people is typically over time, they know more about your ideal client than the CEO does.
Oh, of course, because they're in that day-to-day, like working with those people. They're hearing their feedback. They're hearing their questions. One of the things I was going to say, and you said it now, is that's another way to retain your people long-term is because their identity starts to become wrapped in who they are on your team and who they are to your clients.
Yeah.
So why would they want to leave when there's this identity piece of that? And there's and it's all positive, right? That it has to be this positive experience for them, recognition and reward.
Yeah. And it's so aligned with their own core values as well as the company core values. But it's really why they feel that they get to go to work every day and do worthwhile work. That's really what I'm all about. Trying to help my clients is to create these opportunities where everyone feels like they get to do worthwhile work. Oh, I just love this conversation. So, Nikki, this has been so helpful. Thank you so much for breaking down these terms, breaking down the strategies, giving us a number of great ideas that any of us could go and implement. I love all that. So how can our listeners get more Nikki?
Well, thank you for asking. So I specialize in the sales process. And if your listeners need a little bit more support around selling and how to educate their team around selling, I'm going to wrap it around a gift for your audience. So I have an ebook. It's called Closing the Sale. You can get it by going to yoursalesmaven.com/stacking. So this is for your listeners. And I'd happily gift that to you. And then we'll be connected from there.
You also have an incredible podcast. It's always in my queue. That's one of the things that I'm excited to do this year is to bring on other women who have a podcast and who also have a team. I just think we need to elevate each other even more. So I'm happy to have you as my very first guest within that realm, but you're a repeat guest anyways, and we've known each other for so long.
I'm honored.
It's wonderful to bring you back and reintroduce you to the Stacking Your Team listeners and have them know that there are some incredible, stellar female voices out there.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, I'm one of your biggest fans. You always are such an inspiration to me, and I just feel really honored. Thank you.
Well, one of our other big bucket list items, Nikki, is that we actually get to meet in person again. We haven't seen each other in so long. So I'm going to put that out into the universe.
Yes.
That there's going to be a conference opportunity for us or some sort of opportunity for us to be in the same place at the same time in 2024.
Yes, please. Okay, universe, give it to us.
Take care, Nikki. I so appreciate you.
Thanks.
Nikki gave us so much gold today. I'm hoping you heard the importance of educating your team on the concept of lifetime value and client acquisition cost. Both of those concepts will help you to help your team members to stop thinking like employees and start thinking more like a business owner, something you've heard me harp on about here for years. Her insight on the disconnect between business owners and their team members and how that often leads to client turnover was another important reality for us to lean into. She reinforced with us the importance of regularly reminding clients about all the services we offer. So let's stop assuming everyone understands what's available to them and all the ways that you can help them. And while we're at it, let's accept the fact that team turnover can be improved by offering planned bonuses and commissions that are directly linked to the metrics you've outlined for reaching key results, such as renewals and referrals that lead to high lifetime value clients and customers. So as we close out today, I want to encourage you to connect with Nikki. She's your sales maven on Instagram, LinkedIn, and of course, subscribe to her podcast. And don't forget to grab your gift. It's an ebook that she's titled Closing the Sale. And you can get yours by visiting yoursalesmaven.com/stacking. You know, leadership can be exciting, challenging, and lonely at times. So don't go it alone. Let me help you create the team and the leadership structure that you've been craving. So until next time, remember, if you have a dream, you need a team. So let's get stacking yours today.